Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're diving into a story about a promise that stretched across 150 years, and a debt of kindness that was repaid with absolutely overwhelming force. This is the story of the long memory of mercy. So, to really get what's about to happen, we have to start with a big question. What do you think is the single most powerful force in the universe? Is it some kind of superweapon, the pull of a black hole? What is it?
Well, the answer, at least for the story we're telling today, isn't something you can measure with any instrument. It's something a lot quieter, but as we'll see, way more powerful. It's a memory. Specifically, the memory of one single act of mercy out in the middle of nowhere.
And our story kicks off with a terrifying deadline. Aboard the colony ship Starlight Echo, a clock is ticking down, and they have just 6 hours of air left.
That is how many lives are hanging in the balance. 40,000. 40,000 people, settlers, families, kids, all sharing the last gasps of air.
But it's not just a number, is it? We're talking about 40,000 souls. 40,000 individual stories that are just about to be snuffed out.
And you have to understand, their situation was completely hopeless. It wasn't just one thing that went wrong, it was everything. The main engines were dead. Backup systems, gone. Life support was failing by the minute. And to top it all off, they were lost in a part of space nobody even had on the charts. There was zero chance of rescue.
But then, a blip on the screen. A small group of traders, the Varesh nomads, just happened to pick up their distress call. And all of a sudden, the problem wasn't about engineering anymore. It became a moral one. What is the price of 40,000 lives?
And this was the Varnish captain's answer. A philosophy that was as simple as it was, profound. For them, it wasn't even a choice. Profit can be rebuilt. Lives cannot.
And they didn't just talk the talk. What they did was incredible. First, to even make room, they ejected their entire cargo, their whole livelihood, just jettisoned it into space. Then, they turned their empty cargo holds into makeshift shelters. And finally, they got every single person off that dying ship. They literally threw away years of profit without even thinking twice.
Now safely on the virus ship, surrounded by all these survivors, the human ambassador, Mira Kajil, made a vow. This was more than just a thank you. It was a promise, forged in that moment of desperation. She said, "Humanity does not forget kindness."
And that promise, it was going to be tested. So let's jump forward 150 years. Think about that. Generations have been born and died. But the memory of that rescue, it became a part of human culture. Just waiting for the day the debt would finally come due.
And this is where things get kind of spooky. Look at the parallels. 150 years ago, humanity was stranded with 6 hours of air. Today, the Varish are under siege with 72 hours until they have to surrender. Back then, humanity had no one to call. Today, the Varish have no allies. It's like history's rhyming.
So the Varish send out one last broadcast. And it's not a call for help, it's just a goodbye. And when that message reaches Earth, humanity is faced with a huge question. What is a 150-year-old promise actually worth in today's world?
So, in the main government assembly, everyone's looking at Jonah Cowell. He's the direct descendant of the ambassador who made that promise all those years ago. He stands up, and with just a few words, he triggers one of the biggest mobilizations in human history. He just says, "I move to activate Remembrance Protocol."
So what is the Remembrance Protocol? This is so important. It's not some law. It's not a dusty old treaty. It's described as a cultural reflex. It's an automatic, unconditional, society-wide mobilization to pay back a debt for being saved. It's not something they do, it's who they are.
And the scale of this repayment is, it's staggering. Just look at this. 5 little merchant ships saved humanity, and in return, humanity sends over 400 warships. That's nearly half their entire fleet. A whole civilization goes to war to honor one single act of kindness from generations ago.
Now the aggressors, this Drevik Dominion, they send a message to humanity warning them to stay out of it. Humanity's official reply is just 2 words. No threats, no long speeches, just a simple and frankly terrifying challenge. Try us.
And the battle? It was a total shock for the Drevik. They were expecting a standard, predictable fight. What they got was pure chaos. Humanity used tactics they'd never seen, swarms of drones that just broke their formations. They even called in their own friends, other species who owed humanity favors. The Dravik fleet didn't just retreat, it completely fell apart and ran within hours.
Imagine being on Varish Prime, watching hundreds of human warships appear in your sky, not as invaders, but as saviors. The Varish leader can only whisper in total awe, "They remembered." That promise, kept across all that time, it was real.
And the fallout from this event changed the entire galaxy. It led to something called the Kale Doctrine. It's basically a new galactic law. It says that if any species saves another from being wiped out, they earn permanent protection. Not because of some treaty, but because of pure loyalty. Kindness became the most powerful shield in the galaxy.
A few years later, they put up a monument on Varish Prime, and the inscription, it just says it all, perfectly tying the two events together. They saved us in the dark. We came when they called. The circle of mercy and gratitude, finally complete.
And so, that's where our story ends. A powerful reminder that some